Hello, and welcome to our online course for traditional kilt making.
We are your hosts, Amanda and Nikki, and together we run the Kiltmakery in Edinburgh, Scotland.
For this first video, we'll be going over what the course is about and introducing you to what you'll be sewing, hopefully, the most recognisable national dress in the Western world, the kilt. The kilt is rooted in Scotland, its land and its people. Nothing beats a hand-stitched kilt.
That we've made.
Yeah, that's true. To start with, we've produced a series of videos to guide you through sewing your first kilt. There'll also be downloads to help you. If you do want to become a fully trained kilt maker, you really need one-to-one tuition, as this is still really an apprentice-led craft. For this, please take a look at our other courses where we do offer this. So this is Nikki. She'll be your main kilt making teacher. I don't know if you want to say a bit about that.
I don't know about that. Up to now, if you wanted to become a traditionally trained kilt maker, you would actually have to apprentice with an existing kilt maker. Now, back when I started, the kilt makers would give your apprentices the really bad jobs. I was going to say something naughty there, but better not. We were basically lackeys, and we would get all the horrible jobs. And through the years, the kilt maker would train you, but like I said, it was through the years, so it could take up to 5 years to become a traditionally trained kilt maker. That's not really necessary, so I'm going to be nice to you and not give you all the rubbish jobs. So I'm not going to send you to the bakers to get me cakes, but if you want to do that, that's not a problem. I will accept them. The different kilt making houses, they no longer exist, but before there was different workrooms in different areas of Scotland. For example, Edinburgh had, we had Hugh Macpherson's, we had Geoffrey Taylor, we had Celtic Craft Centre, we had Hector Russell and R.G. Laurie's. Everyone there, we all make the same garment, however we all have slightly different techniques because obviously we're all different workrooms, but at the end of the day we do actually make the same beautiful garment. So you're actually going to be learning the way I was taught, and basically I've kind of fine-tuned it over the years. The one thing about the different kilt making houses, and a lot of kilt makers can say this, is that we can actually tell whose kilt was made where, or whose kilt was made by whoever was trained at a certain place. So I can tell, looking at this kilt here, there's a lot of shaping in the apron. I can tell who made that, but I'm not going to tell you. And if you looked at one of mine, you'll see no shaping in the front apron. So basically, once you've completed this course, I will know if you are one of mine or not. So as I said, you'll be learning my techniques that basically I've honed over the years. You'll be learning what I was taught, and I'll also be teaching you things that I've kind of worked out over the past 30 years that I've been doing this, though you wouldn't think that, obviously. Basically, I'm quite unusual for a kilt maker. I've actually been in every side of the business, sales, manufacturing, the works, so I've been quite lucky in that sense. Most kilt makers work from home, they don't ever see the other side, they don't ever meet the customer, they're just given the cloth to sew. So I am actually quite lucky. I've made kilts for celebrities and basically the wee manny down the street, and to be honest, they're both as good as each other. So a wee bit about me. I started at R.G. Laurie's in the Lawn Market, which was Hector Russell, and then after a few years I moved on to Macpherson's of Edinburgh. I was there for a long time and they taught me a lot about the sales side of things. After Macpherson's, I moved on to Celtic Craft Centre, and we actually did quite a lot of Highland Games in the United States. Some of the bigger ones on the West Coast are my favourite, so if you were ever there you probably bumped into me. After Celtic Craft Centre, I was a self-employed kilt maker for a number of years, and at 40 I kind of realised I was probably the youngest traditionally trained kilt maker in Scotland, and I started to worry that maybe the art will die out. When you see there's a lot of machine made stuff getting put out there and a lot of really bad kilts getting made at the moment, so I was worried that the actual art would die, and so I started to write a book. Now this book turned into kilt making classes. I still don't know how that happened, but it did, and I actually found I enjoyed teaching. And I think I'm actually quite good at it.
You are, yeah.
And it was on one of these courses that Amanda showed up, and I taught Amanda how to make a kilt, and the next thing you know, I'm actually working for Amanda and her husband at Scott Class.
Yes,
God.
you're very welcome. So together, Nikki and I started the Kiltmakery. We'd have lots of chats about the industry and what the industry was actually missing, how we could actually protect and empower the self-employed kilt maker. At the Kiltmakery, we're about supporting and growing the community of kilt makers around the world. Together, we're sort of constantly learning and helping each other. So by taking the course, you'll actually be joining the Kiltmakery family.
Quite a big family now.
It is, it's growing and growing, it's amazing. Here we believe in keeping the skills and craft alive for future generations through support and training. Right, so the course you'll be embarking on, we've set this up so you can either do individual videos. This is especially useful if, say, you've made a kilt before and you just want a refresher of one part, or some people might want to just sort of dip in and dip out. Or you can do the full course. We offer 2 full courses, one with the tartan and one without the tartan. So if, say, you sourced your own tartan, we'd have to, well, Nikki would...
I'd have to check it beforehand to
Check
make sure
it.
it's good enough.
Yes, because you don't want to be doing the whole course on something that's not right. So we either do the course with or without the tartan. We offer everything you will need to actually sew your kilt, so the canvas, the cotton, stabiliser ribbon, everything. So everything you can get through us. And we also, for the complete course, you'll be given support online. We've got a Facebook group set up, and also we'll be doing one-to-one Skype and WhatsApp, maybe Facebook Live.
Facebook Live, if you've got it.
Yeah, whatever's best. Okay, so for the next 3 videos, we've tried to make this as accessible as possible, so you can basically do it with whatever you've got around the house. So no specialist products will be needed. You don't even have to have even sewn before. I know I didn't when I started the course.
That sometimes helps, because that way you've got no bad habits and you can actually learn from the beginning.
Yes. Yeah. Then you will begin sewing your kilt, so you have to be set up with your tartan, of course, canvas, everything at that point. But we'll take you all through this. Well, Nikki will do. And then the only part we ever use a sewing machine for is actually the waistband, which is this part at the top.
That's your waistband.
That's your waistband. You can do it on the machine, but usually, I know when I started, I didn't do this on the machine at all.
You can do it by hand if you don't have a sewing machine, so don't panic there. You don't actually need a sewing machine at all.
So yeah, so no sewing machine needed. And the pressing part of it, you can get away with a good steam iron.
Yeah, a nice steam iron works wonders,
Yeah.
so don't worry about that either.
So here we have the big kind of heavy press and a steam iron, but often, you know, especially if it's kilt with a lot of shaping, we'll do it just with the steam iron.
Yeah, when there's a lot of shaping, an iron is better, because obviously you want to get that nice shape in the back, so a good iron is all you need there.
Okay, and then once you've achieved the required amount of kilts, what we'll do is we'll help you out setting up wholesale accounts with the suppliers, the mills and everything else where we get things from. So you'll be totally set up with everything you need going forward. So Nikki, could you talk us through what makes a good kilt?
Well, I make a good kilt. Basically, what makes a good kilt, to start with, the most important bit, is actually the quality of the cloth. For a gent's kilt, the weight of the cloth should be medium or heavyweight. You should never go lighter. If you go lighter, it crushes and the pleats don't sit right. It does not make a good kilt. It's more like a kilted skirt. You will hear people saying, but I live in a hot country, I want the lightest weight possible. That's actually not true. If you live in a hot country, the heavyweight kilt is actually better for you. And the reason being, the heavyweight cloth tends to sit away from the body, so there's more air coming through. The lighter you go, a medium weight kilt is still quite cool, but the front of it will tend to crush a wee bit and will need a bit of pressing. For a lightweight kilt, if you were to wear a lightweight kilt in a hot country, it will completely crush. Every time you sit down, it will stick to you and it will be really uncomfortable. I've actually know this from experience, as when I was in the States, for example, we were in Dallas. The gentlemen that we were working with were all in nice heavyweight kilts, they're all running around. Myself and another girl had our lightweight kilted skirts on and we were dying in that heat. So trust me, you need a heavyweight kilt if you live in a hotter climate. So to start with, medium weight or heavyweight for a gent's kilt. The tartan should have a nice selvage edge on the bottom. That is basically, there's no hem in a kilt, so you need that nice selvage edge. Again, that kind of helps. Lightweight tartan doesn't have a selvage edge like this, so you'll know right away if there's a hem on the kilt. So you need a nice selvage edge to actually finish off your kilt. The other important bit is the amount of tartan that is in your kilt. Now, the reason we have 8 yards of tartan is because that has evolved through the years. Used to be, before 1900, kilts were mainly 4-yard pieces of cloth. Now, they would have been pleated to a stripe, so you would have had a stripe on each pleat. It could have been box pleat, knife pleat. That's something we'll go into in the course. But they were always pleated to a stripe, so a 4-yard piece of cloth was perfect to make a gent's kilt. But then some smart arse came out with, sorry, am I allowed to say arse? Came out with in the 1900s, let's make the kilt look the same in the back as it is on the front. So you have your front apron, so you can see that nicely set up tartan there, and they decided they wanted the pleats at the back to mirror the front. Now, to do this with 4 yards, depending on the tartan, would be impossible. Some tartans, yes, it can happen, but through the years, as more tartans are being designed, the mills are all weaving faster, they're bringing out new tartans. To do this, the cloth had to go up to what is now 8 yards, just so that the kilt maker can sit and pull her hair out trying to make these pleats match the front. Match the front. So that is why we actually have 8 yards today. It's so that we can match the tartan perfectly front and back. And also with the 8 yards, it does make the kilt hang really nice, swing really nice. The more pleats you can get into a kilt, the better. It just looks so much better. So the depth of the kilt, you'll hear people say that it has to be so much deep. It doesn't, it depends on the tartan. So it always depends on the set of the tartan. The set of the tartan is your square, your repeat of the tartan. So that's why we use 8 yards of material and how we set it up. Now, the other important thing is the fit of the kilt. You'll see, if you'll go up onto the high street in Edinburgh, I'll show you something we did not make. Can I just say, you'll get this kind of thing for £50 up on the high street. You can see straight away the difference in the cloth. It is just awful. It's lightweight. It's definitely not made here in Scotland. Definitely not. And there's nothing to it basically. It's machine sewn, top stitch machine sewn, so there's absolutely no shaping in the back, so that is not going to sit right on anyone basically. When a kilt is made to measure, it's made so it's fitted into the shape of the gentleman. So if you see this kilt here, you can actually see how it shapes out. So this is a shaped garment, that's why measurements are so important. So the kilt is going to sit high up, it's going to shape into the small of the back, and it's going to come out at the fell, which is the bottom of where we stop sewing, and then come straight down, and that's just the nice shaping of a kilt. And can we throw this out?
I know.
It's just that. We're just going to get rid of that just now. Okay. We're actually going to show you, with the stitching, we do a nice invisible stitch. And if you look at our kilts, you won't be able to see any stitching on our pleats. That's because we're really good, and we're going to show you how to do that. This is just an example of another kilt that we didn't make, where you can actually see the stitching on the top.
You really can.
Yeah, it's really bad.
No.
And we also will teach you how to get this nice horizontal look there. So each of the tartan actually goes right along there, Again, if you look on this kilt here, you can see it's kind of laddered. So instead of doing a nice smooth line there, it's kind of laddered on each plate. So we will actually show you how to do that properly, so you don't have to worry there. Now, the internal structure of a kilt is very important. So we actually do a full hard canvas on the inside of the kilt here. So basically that nicely shapes into the customer, the back of the kilt. So we have the canvas here, which is what we put inside the kilt, and stabilising ribbon that goes along the waist, so that as time goes on, nothing's going to stretch there, you don't have to worry. Although I do think kilts do shrink in the wardrobe, but don't panic about that, because we can also show you alterations. So we will show you all of how to do all of this.
Yes, that's lovely. A lovely kilt.
Yes, isn't it? Should really send that to the customer soon, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
So a part of the course will actually be the history of the kilt and tartan. Basically, I feel that if you have a knowledge of the actual history of it, it gives you more of a passion for the actual craft. And that and the fact I love history and I like to tell you about it. So you'll hear every now and again, you will hear the odd, oh, did you knows. I'm quite good at them. My sister will tell you that. She hates it. Anyway, better carry on. You all will have seen Outlander, because you know we're all watching it for the history. We get asked all the time about the kilts that they wear on programmes like Outlander, and can we make the Fillymore or the belted plaid? Well, basically, no. All that was your original kind of belted plaid, your original kilt, sorry. So that was just one piece of cloth folded up in the middle and wrapped around the body and worn. If in the Highlands it was a rural community, so it was basically farmers, shepherds would wear these garments when they were out on the land, working on the land. If they couldn't get home, they already had their sleeping bag wrapped around them. They'd just take it off and use it as a sleeping bag. We will go into more of this in a later video, so we'll go into more description, and hopefully I'll have a nice hot model that I can wrap around in a belted plaid to show you all. Is that alright? One thing about the belted plaid, which Amanda seems to love, which I can't think why, was apparently because the belted plaid was just held on by a belt, when they were going into war or going into battle, because the belted plaid was just a big piece of cloth wrapped around them, obviously you're fighting with a sword, you've got a targe, you've got a dirk, it's going to be really cumbersome and you're going to get kind of wrapped up in it. So what they say happened is they would just undo their belt and let their belted plaid just drop to the floor and then run into battle. So I can't think why you like that.
It just seems to get missed out a lot by reenactment folk.
Yes, it does suit it, doesn't it? So the belted plaid was your original kilt, and it was more of a functional item of clothing rather than a ceremonial. It was worn for the function, nothing else, and it would have been your poorer farmer, shepherd that would have been wearing it. After the Jacobite rebellion of 45, and after Culloden, there was a number of acts.
Acts passed.
Yeah, there was a number of acts passed to actually ban the wearing of the Highland garb, the Highland dress.
Yes.
There's a few things about this that there's been a few arguments about recently, but again we'll go into that later. And so basically this prescription that banned Highland dress was around for 36 years. So in that 36 years, no one could wear Highland dress within Scotland. So that's almost a generation of people not wearing kilts, not wearing tartans, even though there was no such thing as clan tartans back then, but we'll go into that another time. So for 36 years, everyone's just wearing the same thing that other people would be wearing in the UK. Well, it wasn't the UK back then, I'm getting a wee bit mumbled here. So the Act was repealed. Like I say, it took 36 years for that to happen, and it was a group of Highlanders in London who actually got the Act repealed. So we're talking 36 years who's going to go back to wearing something that the previous generations wore? Why bother? You know, they're happy getting on with their lives, so nobody's actually that interested. So then we actually see early 1800s, Sir Walter Scott comes along with all his lovely romantic novels and his rewriting of Scottish history with big romantic Highlanders. Is kind of, well, basically he rewrote Scottish history with rose-tinted glasses. That's all you can say about Sir Walter Scott. As you can tell, I'm not actually a big fan. But in 1822, he was asked to stage manage an event where King George was coming to visit Edinburgh. Now, this was the first time in generations that a king had actually come to visit Edinburgh. So it was going to be a massive event. And so Walter Scott wrote to all the chiefs of the land, telling them if they're attending any of the events, they must wear Highland dress. A lot of these chiefs would have got the letters and went, huh? What are you talking about? Because, you know, most they, why? They're probably thinking, what am I supposed to wear? So there was no such thing as clan tartans back then. There may have been the odd one or two that a chief had woven, but it wouldn't have been called a clan tartan. I think there was roughly around 6 or 7. So these chiefs were basically got into a panic, kind of went down to all the tartan mills en masse and went through all the books. So we have tartan books.
Yeah.
We'd go through the tartan books, and at that time tartans weren't named, they just came in numbers. So they would go through the books, oh, I like that one. That one's going to be my tartan. And from that moment on, that was, say, the Davidson tartan. Not that I know if Davidson was there, but I don't know. But that's basically what I'm saying. They went to the mills and they chose their tartans. Or a few of the richer ones might have had some woven, but the majority of them just went into the mills and chose their tartan. So this was actually quite good for the industry, because even Wilson's of Bannockburn, which was one of the major mills, had about 3 new sheds built just to actually weave tartan for that event. The tailors of Edinburgh made a packet that year as well, because obviously they're then sending their cloth to these tailors to get made into kilts. Now, it wouldn't be the kilt that we see today, our 8-yard knife pleat kilts pleated to the set, because as I said before, that wasn't really until 1900. Basically, it would have been more like this. Now, they call this a traditional box pleat. This is one of Amanda's. So Amanda's been studying the historical kilts and actually been trying to recreate them, which has turned out really nice. So I quite like them. I quite like them. So it's only 4 yards of material that was needed. Now, the thing with the tailors, a lot of these tailors would never have seen a kilt before. They're going by descriptions. They're just making it up as they go along. So although you'll see a lot of people say that the box pleat kilt is the most traditional kilt, actually no. The most traditional kilt is the knife pleat, because that would be exactly what a belted plaid would have been. You wouldn't have boxed a belted plaid. Yeah. So the way I look at it, this is the traditional. And a few people will argue with me there, but the knife plate, if you look at the belted plaid, would be the most traditional pleated kilt. But anyway, I'm blathering. So basically, they would have been wearing something like this, pleated to the stripe, or I've been up to the Kinghussie Museum and saw a kilt there. They actually had no kind of rhyme or reason for how they pleated it up. No idea what went there. But you will see some photographs. Even the king was made an outfit for that day. So there's some quite funny stories there. Again, we'll go into all of this on one of our other videos, and I won't blather as much, I'll just give you the information. So after 1822, everyone turned up in their fancy dress, in their kilts, in their new tartans, clan tartans. And from that moment on, this is basically when the Highland dress industry started. It was in the 1840s, Queen Victoria loved it all. She was the it girl, everyone copied Queen Victoria. Tartan evolved from there. You had the Sobieski Brothers, which I absolutely love. Again, I'll go into them more in another video because I love them and I think it would make a great TV show. They basically brought out a manuscript of tartans, which turned out to be fake. They were con men, but these tartans are now part of our history and are actually in these tartan books. So you might be surprised if yours is in there. And then from then on, tartan is part of Scottish history. The kilts evolved to what we see today, and that is a very brief history of the kilt with me just blethering. But as I say, on one of the videos we will go more into the history of the kilt and the tartan. So this is just a wee taster for you.
Thank you. That's really good. So that's it for this video. To learn this craft is really truly amazing. We've had such great feedback from our students. Sewing kilts can really help with a lot of things, you know, including mental health, life changes, stress relief, and even sort of independence, I suppose, adds to it.
And did you know, after World War I, a lot of the soldiers suffering from shell shock, which would be PTSD now, were actually in the hospitals trained to sew to actually help with their mental health. So that's something that we'd like to continue with. So sewing can actually help with mental health.
Yeah, and some people just like me, it's just such a massive sense of achievement.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always sold kilts for the last sort of 20 years, and I was always told it was an untouchable craft, that, you know, the training is basically as easy. I remember being told it's easier to become a doctor than it was a kilt maker for the amount
because
of
we
years.
kept it secret.
We kept it secret.
It's a big
But to make a kilt and to hold it up and to really feel it like you've done this,
sense of accomplishment.
it's just amazing. And also it's you know, it's an item that ties into Scottish heritage. I mean, I don't actually have any Scottish heritage, but, you know, to add that layer. So something that you're going to truly cherish. And a kilt lasts, you know, you can't say this for many items.
No, a kilt lasts
a lifetime, probably more. And I think we've got one that's kind of a couple of 100 years old. So that's it. So we hope to see you soon, and thank you for watching.
If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to contact us, and we will get back.
Right, thank you. Thanks.